Maya Brooks stood outside the storage auction with her last $27 while people mocked her for even showing up. She only wanted a place to keep her son warm for one night. When she opened the abandoned unit, the crowd laughed louder until she uncovered a locked metal trunk with a name engraved that no one expected. She froze when she realized what she was holding. Before we go any further, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Now, let's begin. Maya Brooks used to count her life in shifts and school runs. After her husband died in a slow, ugly hospital room, she started counting bottles instead. 1 lined the sink, 2 on the nightstand, 3 under the bed. By the time the landlord taped that final notice on her door, she was too numb to care. The injustice of it sat loud in the hallway. Her husband fought for every breath. The hospital drained them dry, and the world still tossed her out like bad trash. Neighbors watched through half-open doors, whispering about the black single mom who lost it after her man passed. No one stepped in. No one offered a ride. Her hands shook when she packed. Not from grief anymore, from withdrawal. Her son Jalen tried to keep it together, folding his worn t-shirts with slow, careful movements so she would not see his eyes shine. He asked if they would stay with family. She changed the subject, said they would figure something out, voice rough from cheap liquor. At night, they slept behind a gas station near the hum of the coolers. Maya lay awake on cardboard, staring at the orange glow of the sign, feeling every bruise in her back. Jalen curled close, hoodie pulled over his head, pretending the sound of trucks was rain. Strangers stepped over them to buy snacks. Barely looking down, shelter staff knew her name. They knew her file, the relapse notes, the missed meetings, the warnings. When she stumbled in late one evening, smelling of smoke and regret, the woman at the desk did not even frown. She simply slid a form across and said the bed was gone. By the time Maya reached the sidewalk again, she was elated and empty. Her wallet held 30 crumpled dollars and an expired food card. Her phone showed 10 missed messages from numbers she refused to call. Jalen walked beside her in silence, holding his backpack strapped so tight his knuckles went white. On the corner ahead, a crowd gathered around a row of metal doors and a fast-talking man with a clipboard. That was the first time she saw Unit 14. People in clean jackets laughed, waving numbered cards, trading jokes about failed dreams in metal boxes. 2 teens filmed on their phones. Wind slid under Mia's thin sweater and raised bumps on her arms. Her stomach growled. Jalen heard it and looked away. She meant to walk past. Auctions were for people with money. She had none. As she slowed, the steel doors looked less like storage and more like the last roof still willing to let her in. Maya drifted toward the auction crowd with slow, unsure steps, drawn by the noise and the thin hope of shelter. Jalen stayed close, watching every movement around them like he expected someone to shove them off the lot. The auctioneer barked out numbers while people waved their cards with loud confidence. Every unit opened with a hiss of metal, followed by groans or laughter as bidders judged the piles inside. Unit 14 sat off to the side, door dented, label half peeled, dust coating the frame. One man joked that even spiders moved out years ago. Another snorted that the unit was only good for dumping trash. The crowd laughed in that loose, careless way people do when they assume everyone around them is comfortable. Maya studied the empty corners, imagining a cold floor where she and her son could hide for one night. Her palms grew sweaty. Her breath felt thin. She knew how ridiculous it looked, but desperation pushed her forward. Jalen whispered that they could keep walking. She nodded but did not move. When the auctioneer reached Unit 14, barely anyone raised their head. He called out the starting bid, voice echoing across the concrete. Silence followed. A woman muttered that the place smelled cursed. A man joked that whoever touched it might get fleas. Maya lifted her hand. The shift was instant, heads turned. Someone laughed under their breath. A teen filming whispered that this woo LD go viral for real. Maya lowered her eyes but kept her hand up. Jalen swallowed hard, gripping the hem of her sleeve. The auctioneer repeated the bid, almost amused. No one challenged her. He looked around once, twice, then slammed his clipboard against his palm and announced the win. $27. The crowd clapped in mock celebration, a few voices calling out that she overpaid. Maya ignored the sting, though her chest tightened. She stepped toward the unit with the small ring of keys the auctioneer dropped into her hand. The metal was cold, gritty, like it carried a history of disappointment. Jalen stood behind her, shifting from foot to foot as if bracing for another letdown. The moment the lock clicked open, a gust of stale air brushed her face. Dust spiraled in the light. Cardboard scraps, broken hangers, and old crates filled the view. It looked worthless. It looked abandoned by someone who stopped caring long before she arrived. A couple nearby whispered that she should have bought food instead. Another said she would sleep in garbage tonight. Maya heard every word. She stepped inside anyway. Jalen followed, nudging aside a cracked plastic bin with his shoe. Maya knelt, brushing debris away, scanning for any corner clean enough to lie on. Her fingers hit something solid, something metallic hidden beneath a collapsed shelf. A trunk. Heavy, locked, out of place in the mess. Something in Maya's chest flickered, faint but sharp, as if the universe had cleared its throat. Ma. Ya brushed more debris aside, revealing the metal trunk fully. The surface was dented but sturdy, edges lined with faded labels she could barely read. Jalen crouched beside her, whispering that it looked important. His voice carried a mix of fear and hope, like he didn't want to believe in anything too soon. She tugged at the handle. The trunk barely shifted. Dust puffed up around them, making her cough. From the doorway, a man joked that she had found her trash treasure. Someone else laughed and said she should pawn the lock for gas money. Maya kept her back turned, jaw tight, fingers trembling as she wiped the top clean. A small engraving peeked through the grime. Dr. Adrian Keller. The name meant nothing to her, but the formal tone made her pause. She tried the latch again. Still locked, she breathed slowly, grounding herself the way the grief counselor once taught her. Before she quit going, inhale, hold, release. Her pulse steadied. Jalen nudged her shoulder, pointing at a corner of the unit where a thin metal rod rested among broken wood. Maya picked it up, slid it under the latch, and pushed. The metal groaned. One more push, and the lock snapped with a tired crack. She froze for a moment, startled by her own strength. When she lifted the lid, the stale air shifted again. Inside were notebooks wrapped in plastic, small sealed containers, envelopes, and a thick leather diary with a nameplate matching the trunk. Everything was arranged with careful intent, not like junk tossed away. Jalen whispered that it looked scientific. Maya frowned at the diagrams on the first page she pulled out. Tight handwriting, chemical sketches, notes about trials, and failed approvals. Her husband used to show her his medical pamphlets, tracing diagrams with hopeful fingers. She sat back, steadying her breath as she read a few lines from the leather diary. Keller wrote about a treatment he believed in, a breakthrough he claimed could change outcomes for patients no one could save. He described endless meetings, political walls, and a board that dismissed him. His words carried exhaustion and clarity. A man watching his dream fade while he pushed anyway. Maya felt something shift in her chest. Not hope yet, but recognition. The tone in his writing mirrored the tone she remembered in her husband's voice when he fought to stay alive. That stubborn fire she once admired. Jalen leaned closer, studying her face. She didn't realize tears had slipped down until he wiped one quickly with his sleeve. The longer she read, the straighter her back sat. The room seemed quieter. Even the whispers outside blurred. This wasn't trash. This wasn't a fluke. It felt like a hand reaching from another life, urging her to stand up. Maya closed the diary, holding it against her chest for a moment. Her breath steadied, her eyes sharpened. The trunk wasn't just storage. It was a spark. Maya walked out of the storage facility the next morning with the trunk strapped to a borrowed due. Lee in a look people hadn't seen on her face in years. Jalen pushed from behind, grunting under the weight. A few bidders from yesterday watched them go, whispering that she must be planning to sell the metal for scrap. Maya didn't bother correcting anyone. The diary stayed in her jacket close to her ribs. Her first stop was a small clinic. The receptionist barely glanced up when Mia placed Keller's notes on the counter once she realized Mia wasn't a doctor or a student. Her smile thinned. She slid the papers back carefully, as if distancing herself from trouble, and said the clinic wasn't equipped for strange materials. Maya thanked her anyway and left, jaw tight. She tried a university next. A security guard watched her climb the stairs, eyes lingering on her worn shoes and trembling hands. Inside, 2 researchers skimmed the diagrams, but dismissed the work in under a minute. One suggested she was misunderstanding old data. Another implied she found propaganda someone dumped decades ago. Their tone made her skin prickle. Jalan stared at them like he couldn't decide if he was angry or embarrassed. Maya didn't blame him. She felt both, too. Over the next days, she continued carrying the trunk everywhere, pushing through comments that stabbed deeper than she expected. People treated her like a nuisance, someone chasing fantasy. Some looked at her shaking hands and assumed she was still using. She could feel their judgment slide over her skin like old grime. Withdrawal made her body ache, but quitting made her stubborn. She refused to fall back. On the 5th attempt, a lab assistant named Ren saw the Keller engraving and froze. He asked where she found the trunk, his voice lowered, almost cautious. He led her to a small group of researchers who took their time studying the notes. Their shift in posture told her they recognized something serious, but recognition brought danger. A board member named Dr. Lice arrived after being notified about the materials. His smile was too polished. When he flipped through Keller's diary, his expression tightened for a fraction of a second. Maya caught it. He insisted the documents were outdated and needed to be placed under review, already reaching for the trunk. Maya stepped back, one hand on the lid. Ren blocked Elson gently, insisting the work deserved verification. Tension filled the room. Lyson's voice sharpened as he accused Maya of mishandling restricted research. She felt her nails dig into her palms, fighting the urge to crumble. Instead of retreating, she opened the diary to a page Keller wrote about sabotage during his trials. Ren read the entry aloud. One line named a board member involved in burying the project. Elson's face went pale. That was the moment Maya realized she wasn't imagining the weight of the truth. The investigation that followed moved slowly at first, but Keller's diary forced every door open. Ren and the researchers gathered emails, archived proposals, and reports Keller mentioned. Patterns formed, dates lined up. Every thread pointed back to L. Pressure built until the board had no room to protect him. When the scandal went public, investors demanded the research be revived immediately. For the first time in years, Maya felt her spine straighten without effort. She wasn't invisible anymore. The treatment entered development, and experts valued the work at more than $100 million. It didn't feel real until she saw Jalan's face brighten for the first time since his father died. Maya contacted Keller's wife and daughter quietly. She met them in a small cafe, placed more than $50 million in their hands, and told them the discovery belonged to their family first. They cried. She held their hands without speaking much. Gratitude didn't need many words. With the remaining funds, Maya built a center for families crushed by addiction, loss, or financial collapse. She filled it with counselors who understood what rock bottom felt like. She walked the halls daily, greeting people with the calm she once begged for. One afternoon, she stood alone in her office, palm resting on Keller's diary. She finally understood the truth. The money changed her life, but the research saved it. It pulled her out of the dark long before the world noticed. Maya proved that one broken moment doesn't define a lifetime. If her fight moved you, stay with us. Hit subscribe and keep following stories that remind you what strength looks like when the world counts you out.